What's up? We're in the final part. Please go check out the previous 2 parts to gauge your bearings. This thing, yeah, sabotage. Black people are full of sabotage. I get to be here. I don't know. Kodwa asbolanga sonke. Kodwa, however, despite not ubola sonke, some of us siyaboliswa, even though siqale si right. Some of us get made rotten, even though we started out si right. And my ex-boyfriend was one of the good guys. He was one of the best. Like I said, he pleasantly surprised me all throughout the relationship. And especially in the beginning, given that all the guys that I'd ever made out with kissed, and were always quick to just grope a breast, grope a buttock, grope a calf, anything, Jafet. They were always just trying to go into your pants. They were always trying to unzip your pants. They were always just trying to really quickly. And the first time my ex and I kissed, he kept his hands on my shoulders. on my shoulders, because he did not want to rush me into something that would make me feel like you're such a jerk. You're such a jerk. Like, don't touch me there. Don't grope me there. You're inappropriate. I don't know where he learned those manners, because it was certainly not his friends, but he had them. He had manners, do you understand? And he was, like I said, romantic. He was attentive. He was not trying to be ipahofolo. And that for me was new, given that I had a history of dating guys. Guys that, I mean, one of my boyfriends told me, I remember telling him I love him, and he was like, you know, you don't have to say that all the time. Basically, he was low-key trying to say, stop saying I love you, you might wear it out. And that was my first love. That's actually kind of why we broke up, or one of the things that led me to just not try to finish this thing off, type establishment thing, like, don't say you love me so much you might wear it out. Or guys that 20 minutes after you've had sex you gotta go home. Yeah. Or guys that can't spend all night and all day with you. They can't blom with you. They can't be quiet in the same room with you. I feel exasperated by being with you all the time. Yeah, I came from relationships like those, and here it is that I was able to be with somebody like 24 hours yonke. And nobody gets tired of the next. Yeah, I never had that. And for me, it was like, I'm keeping this. But some women, despite having that in a guy, like the woman that was the Deben July hat buyer, the fascinator hat buyer, the one because he didn't have much. Yeah, he did not have much. And so she walked on. But as soon as he then was in something that was lasting and it was stable, she got envious. She was to a point of in and of herself trying to sabotage. That woman did not use witchcraft on us until long after we'd broken up. He went on right ahead to marry her. He married the woman that didn't want him when he didn't have anything. He went and married her, and when they came together years after we had broken up, right, that's when then she used a spell on me to basically just kind of keep me at bay. That's the thing, like, you know, when the ride or die is the ride or die that a guy will just not forget. That chick was so scared of me, she was so afraid of me, that she saw it fit to make sure that this thing that's happening between her and my ex-boyfriend is going to be solidified, and that he will not come back to me. Like, I got a dream of her gloating over Tabaro she got the ring from my ex. And my thing with that was, it's been years since we broke up, girl. It's been years. It's been years, like literally years since we broke up, when you basically reconciled with my ex-boyfriend. Why would you still be scared of me? It's because she never saw anything like what I was in his life. And she low-key knew that the man that he became was because of me. And so in Ndefela, she did a contingency witchcraft just to make sure. Like, she literally, that was that chick's witchcraft. She was like, just to make sure. She never sabotaged our relationship spiritually. She did, however, physically try to. Until, like I said, much later. And by then we were broken up and I wasn't even trying to go back there, but she was so scared that she went on right ahead and did a just in case spell. Yeah, that was, I believe, the last that she ever did, the first and last that she ever did against us, because my ex, by the time that he came together with her, was so vitriolic against me. He was speaking so much rubbish against me that this woman did not feel a need to, you know, just fix anything. Like, she just was like, whatever, except that's just the thing. He was a bitter man. It's a bitter man speaking rubbish about a woman that he is still in love with, that he can't have, because she told him, leave me alone. I'm sick and tired of seeing your witchcraft. I was always able to bust my ex for everything. That's the thing. Why didn't he think I would bust him for sorcery? Like, I was the chick that he would take drugs in some conspicuous corner, and then I would discover the next morning that he took them, and it would almost break us up. I was the woman that was able to suss out when he had cheated on me. I was able to just figure out so many things. Like, I've been busting him It was just what I was really good at doing. I was always busting him. Why did he not think I would bust him this time around? Why wouldn't I bust him this time around? Why ke sa mo bank? Ke mo bankile hape. Khala bankwa mothako. But that's the thing. He was used to, despite ukubaqwa, he was used to me going back to him over and over again. Over and over again. So he imagined that even with sorcery ngabuyela. Njengathi mina ngikubhaqe uthatha imali from my account. Ngathi mina ngikubhaqele cheating on me. It's not the same. Witchcraft, spiritual manipulation, especially considering it is supposed to be anonymous. It's not supposed to be seen. You can't mina expect ukuthi ngizoblomala in that type of state. So I'm not gonna sit here and say that it was all rubbish and all nonsense, that relationship. Mina, I liked what I had in the beginning and I held on to it even though it was slipping out of my hands from as early as 6 months into the relationship. I entered into something that was cool and amazing and I'd never had it and I wanted it and I was going to keep it. In the beginning of my relationship, guys, next time I didn't look left, I didn't look right, next, I didn't want anyone or anything. I just had him. That's all I wanted. I was so happy. It's like nothing is broken lanang grand. I had so much contentment about everything else that was apparently lacking in him. I was happy. I was content. There was no one that could ever rock up that was cute, that I would be like, you're cuter than my ex. There was no one that could ever rock up that was funny, that I would be like, you're funnier than my ex. Ahona motu that could ever beat him at anything, because I was that done. Lapaya. I was gonna sit and chill, and then he's the one that ripped that out of me. He stripped it down. He took me for granted. He started to feeling that I'm a guarantee, I'm a done deal. I'm not going anywhere. He felt ingati I am not moving. I'm not leaving. And from the first time that he started to feel that way, that's when I started to look around in my environment. That's when I started to develop a crush on some guy in my class at Wits. That's when I started to be like, I can be in love elsewhere. But that was what he started. So he was a saboteur. That's what's good. He messed up his own relationship. And somewhere along the way inside the relationship, because he decided to take the advice of his friends, to ignore everything I'm saying, all the progress we made, he stopped. He just froze in place. It took a whole 3 years for him to get his driver's license, even though we spoke about it as soon as we started dating. And both times, I'm the one that called the licensing department. I stayed on the phone and I held using company funds. Yeah, that's what's good. Until I got him a date. You know how you had to keep calling over and over and over and over, coming back over and over and over and over, over and over and over and over, over and over and over and over. Yeah, with trying to book a car. Back in the day, that's how it was. I don't know how it is today. To try and book a learner's license. I was the one that stood on the phone for hours. Not hours. You would like hold and hold until you hang up. But one day you're blessed, and then they can basically be like, they give you a date, the date of which is like in 5 months or something. Yeah, like really far away. I was the one that made those calls. I booked his learner's license test twice because he got his learner's license the first time and 18 months all of it, the whole 18 months progressed and he did not go for his driver's. My heart was broken. I was like, but a year and a half fella for real? Anyway, I went and I called again. The second time he did get his driver's license, however, and we were happy, ululating, celebrating, and that all that kind of stuff kept on happening. Saruri wankutla. And that's the kind of ride or die thing that you observe as a man when your boy is experiencing it and you're like, nah. So he was like, yeah, proper. His boys broke us up. Some of them, not all. They broke us up. Some of them were his family members, and his women in my life envied the fact that I was loved by a man in a way that they were struggling to receive the same love from their men. This guy kept on dropping the ball heavily, like I said, from as early as 6 months in, but even with his compromised state, he slayed everybody anyway, in terms of love. He was able to be there for me in a way that all of these women were just struggling with their guys. They were just struggling, like in the worst way. He was like a cut above the rest. He was sewn from a different cloth. I can say this guy, why was he so different from everybody? But he was different. However, he allowed himself to be influenced negatively. It's like it wasn't broken, but he tried to fix it. He was the different guy, and he allowed them to make him typical. He allowed his friends to make him common, to make him all men are dogs. He allowed himself to be transformed into the evil thing that his friends were. Yeah. Bad company ruins good character, that's the thing. And the same thing was also happening with me, wasn't it? Where women were trying to make me exactly what it is that they are. All of this, my cousin was a fool. She messed up with a relatively decent guy because she wanted somebody else that was cooler, had more money, had a better car, blah blah, all that jazz, and she had no love in that joint. She was getting beaten by that guy. All that stuff that my cousin was. I guess she wanted me to become it, but I never did I? That's the thing. What I'm trying to explain is that sonke siyasabotashwa. Everybody gets afflicted. Sonke sistrikwa inyongo from the community. Kodwa some people are just like, I'm sorry, mina, this is who I am and I'm sticking to it. And this is what I want and I'm sticking to it. There are people whose resolve is strong. There are people who chill on what it is that they see and they run with it. They see what they see and they run with it. Do you understand what I'm saying? My ex-boyfriend met a woman that sat with him when all other women at some point got spikes underneath their chairs that poked into their buttocks, that made them uncomfortable, and they left. At some point, he was a man that was struggling to keep a girl because these women, despite him being so loving to them, were just not satisfied with Nabiguti. Auna moto, usalenlini, unangaki, exactly. Okay, guy, ustada, minangfuna better, ngfuna different. These women went on by ndiza out there in the sky. They went and they flew out there in the sky and met other guys. And you see, the thing about these women is that they also were prepared to take guys that were not as loving insofar as they had a lot more to give. So you made your bed, you chose it. The love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, and many who have wandered after it have pierced themselves with many pains. Yeah, these women went and grabbed for themselves guys that were not quite loving, but hey, they had a lot. And now today they're paying the price for it. So this chick, Ona, that he ended up married to, it's almost as if though she got her bread buttered on both sides. Why? Because she got to get the loving guy that, that ultimately started making money. But that's just the thing about my ex-boyfriend. As soon as he started making money, he changed. He allowed the world to make him typical. He started giving me attitude. He passed me shade one date after we had broken up and we were again trying to reconcile. He stood me up. He stood me up until his mother... He stood me up until his mother called me to negotiate for her son, for me to stay with her son. And I was like, but why are you calling me and not your son? Doesn't your son want me back? Doesn't your son want me back? And his mother spoke for him. And that happened, by the way, at a time when I had just prayed to Jesus, asking him to give me a sign if this man was it. I had asked the Lord to give me a sign if my boyfriend was the one, and he stood me up. I had never in my life been stood up by that guy before until that date. The moment he started making money, he started getting design. He came to my apartment one time, all decked up, he was looking so good. I'm not gonna take that away from him. He even smelled great. Okay, he had obviously bought new clothes. He was making money that he had never told me about. He had done a whole wardrobe haul. Do you understand? And he was arrogant. I remember during the time I was using some facial cream that exfoliates the face. And so uppermost skin on my face was peeling. And so when you smile, when you got that kind of face peel effect going on your face, your sides crease, they wrinkle. You get what looks like crow's feet. And I got crow's feet when I was smiling because of that cream that I was using. I obviously did not actually have crow's feet because how many years down the line is it now and I still don't have that. But those crow's feet appeared because of my skincare regimen. And my ex looked at me at the time. My ex and I broke up when I was just 26. So collagen production is only now starting to just decline. Yet he rocks up and says, "Gomunyakong," all dressed like he was wearing this beautiful leather jacket and some beautiful outfit, and he was looking good. He was smelling great. He was looking lovely, man. He but really, he's my man, whatever. I get to be proud of that, right? And then he looks at my face after we hug and he's like, "You're getting old." Oh, God have mercy. He told me ukuthi mina ngiyaguga. I was only 26. Look at me now. I'm 39. Do you still think ukuthi ngiyaguga, boy? I was like, since when do you talk to me like that? Since when do you insult me like that? That day, he was coming to show me a car that he bought. It was a van for his business. He had not told me about it in advance. It's okay if you want to surprise me, but he was so arrogant in the surprise that it didn't feel like a surprise, but a flash. It's like nang fleshetsa. And I'm like, but dude, me that first of all taught you how to drive. Let's just put that out there. Me that stayed go for licensing department trying to get you a learner's license test date, and then finally a driver's test date. I was the one that celebrated jumping up and down with you when you finally got your driver's yako. There's no person here on the earth that would be more happy for you than me when you get a car. I taught you moto yam, prepared if you were to crash it, to basically, you know, take it in my stride. Insurance would cover it because I can go learners. That's what's good. Yeah. If there's anybody that's gonna be happy for you, Matola, license yako him. It's me. If there's anybody that's gonna be happy, Matoli moto, me. So why ongi flosela? Why on floseta? This is something that like I'm bitter about. I'm not that girl, dude. Like, that's the thing. I'm not the woman. I'm not the woman that walked away from you because you didn't have a car, or because you were staying at home with your parents, or because you were working in a call center. I was the girl that stuck with you despite that. So why on floseta on the day when you didn't have nothing, and then next thing, now that you've got everything, also dude, you're doing this to the wrong woman. All of your exes are the ones that you're supposed to be acting this particular fool that you're acting right now in front of. Yeah, the ones that walked away from you, that chick ole. Oh no, men's side piece on busy and kaya na ke tsebo go denteng, but she was the bane of my existence until phone la masihu kella ke tswamo this chick o tswamo type thing, make a pick ultimatum. Yeah, that's the one that you're supposed to be gloating to, but he went and married her. Uhambile wa yo chata, the woman that was the bane of my existence and his at a certain point. Mega amfuni when he had nothing, and then years down the line he is making enough money now for her to all of a sudden embrace his proposal. That chick, it's almost like she got the best of everything, but that's the thing. Did she really get that loving guy, that very extremely romantic dude that I had, that likely we both had at different times when we were still younger, all of us? Did she really get him? Because Ngamhlanje upita. Ngamhlanje, he's mad. Today, he's married to a woman he doesn't love. Today, he got the side one, what is this, the slay queen gold digger that didn't want him when he didn't have anything. So he felt a sense of accomplishment when she finally was willing to be with him now. Except when you wake up as a man, realizing Uguti, awukwazi ukuthemba umfazi wakho when everything falls apart. That's when now you start to shrivel up and wrinkle, don't you? And nakhona, the same woman, when a man makes a discovery, Uguti, this is a fair weather wife. This is a fair weather girlfriend. Fair weather. Yeah, that's when it starts to shuba for you. And no woman wants to be in the shadow of another woman. Agunamfazi, obatlang khutsirwa, sirithi sa gagwe ke mosadi o mongwe. No woman wants to be in the shadow of another woman. And this chick that he married without thinking, frankly, because he was trying to get at me by Ogumchata, will forever live in my shadow. Why? Because there was a time when he wanted you and you didn't want him. And then all of a sudden when he's doing okay, you want him. When, however, things get deep for him, when life starts to hit the fan, or when now he wants actual companionship and trust in a relationship, uzokumbula ex yakona. Uzokumbula the ex. Like, no, wait, what am I doing over there? Uzokumbula the ex. This, people that basically speak too soon from what it is that the Lord shows me, and indeed it's currently happening. That's why ke monora kana ka ditlhare o batla go tla konna a ke tsebe if o mo divorce that chick or if o batla go mo divorce, but he certainly wants to come back into my life. I don't know what's going on there, but that's just exactly what happens when that's likely what happened with this woman. Like, she did not get her bread buttered on both sides, where she got the loving guy that also has the money. She got a man that could not be with his ex and used her to try and get at his ex because she was the bane of his ex's existence at the time they were together. And once they were together, once they were married, and once my ex had what he called basically put pie in my face, he didn't stop loving me, did he? He did not stop missing me, did he? The woman that he was affectionate with, the one that he was close with, that whole thing that we did for all those years, yeah, no, that never ever left him. There was like a stain on his jacket, like that's just not coming out. I'm like a red wine carpet. I'm like a red wine stain on a white carpet. It's not going out. It's not going, like I am not going out of that. I'm like dye on a black coat. That patch that is pinkish white is not going. That's what I am to that man now. I am a permanent mark, and no woman will ever compare, because no woman has ever been that ride or die to him. He had one shot, one chance, one woman that was given him when he was just 26, and now at 40, I'm 39, so 43. Yeah, he was 4 years older than me. Now at 43, he still has not found anything that comes close. And so when you are the wife of a man that has lost someone like that, whether or not he was romantic before he met the woman that ultimately loved him for who he was, is irrelevant, because all that flies out the window. Same way he became arrogant towards me towards the end of the relationship, because he started making money, thinking that women can just be cajoled because that's always been the one thing That's always been the one thing and when he started to make it, he became rude to the woman that did not care that he didn't have it. He became rude. Our relationship ended because of a myriad of things, including that. And he's cheating and blah blah. He just became a different guy. So my ex allowed himself to be made typical. He allowed himself to change because of the fact that he was influenced. He chose to please his friends. The Bible says a man must leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife, and the two become one flesh. My ex-boyfriend was supposed to leave his mother and father's house and cleave to me. When we met, he was with his mother and father. When I met him, I was living with my mother. We were supposed to just get married, like very quickly. Like maybe after a year, seeing as we were fornicating. Sex or anything like that. We should have just gotten married quickly. Quickly. And the two of us get into an apartment as a married couple and start making a whole bunch of babies from very early so we don't struggle with no geriatric pregnancies. That was supposed to happen. But according to his friends over my dead body, no. According to some people, they were like, no. My ex allowed sabotage. I would have accepted that guy's proposal at any time in the relationship. Anytime. I was prepared to marry him. But he was still looking out for what he calls better. And you know what made my ex feel like he could do better? His friends kept telling him he could. The same boys of which went and married Medizabo, the same ladies that were unhappy with them, that it felt like they were not romantic enough, they were not attentive enough. After cheating on them for years, but now I'm making an honest woman out of you. But I mean, of course, they still act like high school students inside marriages. They're still cheating. Since in about Karabo high school, inside marriages. His boys they told him, they helped him cheat on me first and foremost. Secondly, they also used witchcraft, some of them, on our relationship. They then also influenced him on some umfazi, he got influenced negatively by his friends, some people in his family, his own dad, and he lost me. He lost me because of that. He became arrogant. When he started making money, his friends bahlanga even more. On some, this is what a man is, really. He doesn't have his helper suitable now, does he? Without Karabo, this guy after a year, like no man's business. My ex-boyfriend was always so namby-pamby whenever we broke up. He was always so namby-pamby. One, I was a force to be reckoned with in his life. I was, what's the word that I'm looking for? I was always, I'm distracted because there's all this activity, but like I want to say, I prospered to basically uproot a lot of darkness out of him. As soon as I came into the picture, I vacuumed a lot of stuff. He stopped even taking drugs. But every time we would break up, even though, like, look, my ex-boyfriend never ever he passed me a lot of shade at the very end of the relationship. He was arrogant in a way that he never was before. But in the run-up to the end of the relationship, some of our breakups, they happened because he was starting to get rude. And the rudeness was inspired by either drunkenness or what I could tell was influence coming from some other place, and it broke my heart like very deeply. It hurt me like no man's business, but despite the temporary season of like attitude that he would give me, I would then start hearing on the phone, Lomuntu has relapsed on drugs, he's this, he's that. Like he always used to relapse on drugs. Every time we broke up, it got to a point where I felt exhausted. But and I'm not going to be on suicide watch. I'm not going to be on suicide watch. You can absolutely dream on. I'm not going to be on suicide watch where it is that I'm sitting outside of your life to make sure you don't take drugs by staying in your life when you don't want to. Love me. Like, this is not a one-way relationship where I'm your mom. It is a two, like I'm your woman. So love me. And then I'll stay. But then if at all you're going to emotionally blackmail me with going back on drugs and so freaking me out that you might just OD one day. One day I made a decision that I'm going to and he conquered it. Rehab. He went to rehab instead of trying to bring me back into his life. Diving into drugs because where's Karabo? He always used to do that. So if at all his friends made an observation of every time Karabo walks away from this guy, drugs footy, and his family worries about him. They're concerned that he's going to end up ODing and whatnot. Why didn't his friends just let him love me? So many times I took him back in. After that whole precipice of death that he would put himself on, I would take him back and be like, yeah, Wycliffe Jean and that lady, if only I give you one last chance with the devil, you can no longer dance. You got to be faithful so we can be truthful, build a family and follow God's destiny. Yeah, and just before I walk out the door, baby, would you listen to my song? Yeah, I used to always do that, like over and over and over again. If only you came back, this has got to be the king. If only you came back, this, if only. And every time we got back together, he got his act together, ever so temporarily. And so everybody was now at ease. Like, you can't have your bread buttered on both sides. Everyone that loved him, that was worried about him, every time we'd get back together, they were now cool. On some, he made it, he survived. Karabo mthatile back. Karabo took him back. So upon these people realizing what a strong influence I was in his life, how beneficial I was from him, basically I was like his life support. I was his defibrillator. I was the thing that was keeping him plugged into a machine. Upon discovering that I was that important to this man, why the heck didn't they just let it be? At some point when your friend's life is in danger, at some point when a person is obviously, when a person obviously needs someone, and absent of this person being around, there is some destruction that happens to a person. Peace. Like, just leave them alone. If you love your boy, let Karabo do what she does there. Because every time they break up, he enters a meltdown. Why didn't his friends, upon observing all of these meltdowns throughout all of our breakups, why didn't they just say, wait again, Lomona akusizi, ngoba at the end of the day, umngani wethu uzoshona. He's gonna end up in prison. He's gonna end up at the Victimze. Something is going to crack in this guy's life. Karabo was obviously a good influence. Let's just leave it. But nah, jealousy was more overwhelming. Sabotage was more overwhelming. Just an insistence in Jefela on breaking people up, that was more overwhelming. They decided that they were gonna rather coup a relationship in spite of how beneficial it was for a person that needed it, rather than just let a person live and strive and survive. Do you understand what I'm saying? In love with somebody because it's always worked from the get-go. That's why Nalmona saw. It's always working. That's why you have so much envy. But if you love your friend, because these two obviously are beneficial for each other. As guys, a chick like proper embrace this dude the way that this chick has. They're building on them together. Leave them alone. But that's the thing. The black community, halina camaraderie, halina respect for each other. Let's take a sabotage. And so now look what's going on. A good 12 years down the line. 12 years young. Oh, these boys, like he has hostage taken ex-girlfriend yakon. Uhambile wayothatha umfazi that he was not even all that in love with, not anymore anyway. Wayenza a hostage out of Karabo. Manje wonke umuntu la emgaqweni uhlazekile. He's the only one that never married his girl, girlfriend yakon. Even though he was the only one that successfully loved her in the beginning of their relationship. Nonke meningakwazi ukuthanda imedi zenu. Mebahlala bakhala. They were always complaining about indlela zenu. And he was the only one that got it right. And now he's the only one that never got to marry her. Because all of y'all try to make her like you. All of him like you. All of y'all tried to make him be exactly like you. And when then he followed him, I'm examples when Karabo. And now 12 years down the line, Karabo is a hostage. He won't leave her alone with witchcraft. He is frozen. He's the only one that did not get to marry her. And yet, however, he was the only one that deserved to marry a woman at some point. He was the only one at some point that deserved a good thing. The Bible says he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. He was the only one that was a manly man in a biblical sense. Because y'all think you're men because you got money. You think you're men because you got cars. You think you're men because you have houses now, but you don't respect women when they don't want to have sex. You're not selfless towards women. You don't cater to their needs. You don't try to find out what they want, what they need. You are rude. You are destructive. You are entitled, and you also withhold affection. The "I love you" comes out with difficulty. Assuring a woman is so hard for you, and he got that right from the get-go. He was the only one that loved biblically. When husbands, love your wives the way that Christ loved the church. He was the only one that biblically loved his girl at the time. And yet he's the only one that did not get to marry the woman. That you frustrated the living daylights out of. And they settled for you and they said, I do. And the one guy that was doing it right, you flipped him and made him just like you. And he lost the woman that God brought into his life to make him basically upscale and upgrade as a man, given that and all of y'all went and you blocked that. You stopped it. And now today he's, like I said, the only one out of all of you that did not get to marry Imediakona, because Imediakona she got saved, and the Lord was like, my daughter's not sticking around in this. You changed a man and made him a monster, and once he was a monster, he lost the best thing that ever happened to him. Years down the line, now that the sky is clearing, now that the dust is settling, he's waking up to realize, Uguti Ganjani, how am I the only one that did not get the girl when I was the only one that was able to love the girl? I went and gave my love, my best years, to a woman that didn't even want me when I had nothing. When I had nothing. And this woman took me, and the two of us were flying into the sunset, and I changed on her because a whole bunch of men influenced me. So I mean, look, there are kudos to be awarded my ex for the way that he was, but at the end of the day, herein lies the victim also being a perpetrator, so now he cannot get concession from God. He is a victim, but he also made himself a perp. Somewhere along the way in our relationship, he made a decision that, Mina, I am gonna walk away from him, and given that he had PTSD of women just walking out on him, he decided to hold me hostage. He messed up with our sex life because of trying to make sure that I won't go out on him. And so I already explained that story in my other videos. Please go check them out. All these things. Yeah. He messed up with all that using witchcraft. It ended up making sex painful. I wasn't supposed to fornicate. I'll take that. However, like I said, some couples, God rescues them from the time that they're kids. He puts them together so they can end up together as Christian married couples. If my ex had listened to God and the call of God on his life, we'd be fine today. But we're not, are we? And I have no regrets about walking away because I had to leave. Why? Because the Lord called me home and I went. The Lord called him home and he said, no, thank you. He rejected the gospel. He rejected Jesus. He rejected my God. He rejected the call on both our lives. So we forked. I therefore have no regret about not ending up with him. Because if at all I had stayed with him, I would have been miserable because he was only getting from strength to strength in his wickedness. He was only being made worse and worse. If at all I had gone back together with him because of the korwela tsakhage, the bring back lost lava, all of the spiritual manipulation that he was using, he would have just become more and more pompous and become less and less loving over time. And so I was going to become more and more miserable as a wife. The only way that relationship could have ever resulted in a happy marriage is if we both got saved. Only one of us got saved. He didn't. He rejected Jesus. And so because he rejected Jesus, he did not choose Christ. He chose the world. He chose to be influenced by wicked men of which don't understand that a man leaves his mother and father and cleaves to his wife, and then the two become one flesh, not his boys. So all of these guys all over the show, busy helping one another along and messing with women and all their misogyny and chauvinism. But Moshe, I'm a relationships with women, but it's okay if you want to go and Moshe your own relationship with a woman. But then when a guy wants to do a better thing and then you influence them unto wickedness, it's written in God's word that offenses will come, but woe to the man through whom those offenses come. So when then you're the person that's insulting the show, woe to the person who makes you insult. And my ex's boys made him offend God. He in and of himself is offensive to God, but woe to his best friend. Woe to that dude from Steuben's Valley. Woe to all his boys who kept on talking smack into his ear about how it is that a woman, there's a certain way that they must act. Woe to his dad. Woe to all the people that brought my ex to the place where now today he can't even look at Jesus in the eye because he feels nah, dude, Jesus did not take me away from you. You took yourself away from Jesus, and so the Lord protected me from you. This thing could have easily resulted in a patched up thing that would ultimately work because so too we decided to go and serve Jesus. But you chose not to. You chose to ignore the helper suitable that was given you. And then wayothatha umfazi that you can't even trust to be ride or die when everything hits the fan in your life. Masek shubile manje. A woman that would make you, because of the fact that in order to keep her in the house, you gotta keep making money, cause you to then partake in unsavory business practices, partake in crime, just so you can keep money coming in, cause law uzohamba as soon as you stop making imali. That's what you chose. She displayed ugutaga tembek, wamchata anyway, at my expense, because that's the thing, you would not have married her if it was not for the fact that I could not stand her. Every decision you've made ever since we broke up has been about me, including marrying that woman. And so for those reasons, today you are miserable. You wish you could come back. You've been trying for years. At any given time, if I eased my sorrow and I said, whatever, it's all in the past, let sleeping dogs lie, water under the bridge, you would have left that woman for me at any given time. But the sad thing about your situation is that this entire time I've been angry. I've been hella vuss. I've been mad. I've wanted nothing to do with you. And that's the only thing that's keeping your marriage together with sticky tape. And still to this day, you're prepared to leave that woman for me. Why under heaven mina kwamele ngiyoba a second wife when I was supposed to be the main thing? When I was supposed to be the first and permanent and only? You let those people, abantu ahamba, boy. Uyotshela abangani bakho bakudala or present whatever. Indaba zabo. Go and crap out your dad if he's still alive. Go and crap out everybody that stood against our relationship when you rather had voices of reason, because it's not like you were left out in the cold with bad advice. Your mom tried to tell you, your sister tried to tell you, your cousins, especially the females ones, they try to tell you. Kunabantu abakuzamile. People tried. So it's not like you were all by yourself with all this bad influence. You had some sound counselors in your corner. You did. And azangwalalela. And then you let it go. And then you reviled my name in front of abantu that kept on talking better about me. Went and said, Karabo futhi uyahlanya. You called me crazy. You called me all different kinds of things. When I found out that you were into sorcery. When I kept on crying, saying, leave me alone, please. I just want to live. And now 12 years later, 12 years, like a decade point two, dude. Yo, yes, like this is obsession. This is the kind of stuff that is like, a man is out here holding a woman in a basement, feeding her. Yeah. That's what this is. That's exactly what this is. You have held me hostage in a basement. And wife yakhona, umfazi wakhona, musadi wa hao, if she were to know, you have literally held me hostage, making sure you don't want anybody touching that. Like you lost the best thing that ever happened to you. It's not like you ever ran out of love. That's the thing. You never ever ran out of love. You never ever stopped loving me. You never ever stopped having passion for me. How in the world, when you've got such strong feelings for a woman, do you let her slip away? You done did that. You done did that because you wanted to handle me. You thought that you could use sorcery to get everything that you wanted. And when then it didn't work out for you, you now are so bitter that you are like, I would rather she dies. At some point, you even try to death spell on me because it's like, it didn't work. You felt like trash afterwards. You're better than the guy in America. You don't keep on going back to the death spell drawing board. But my survival in Christ, the fact that I am so resilient in the Lord, that is the thing. You are seeing that you made a massive mistake, and now you want to come back into my life. The way you have been so embittered, God, now you even try to get me to, what is this, contract HIV so you could live in peace with ex engakufuni kodwa uyagula, so whatever, like proper. I keep getting all these nightmares with you all up in my grill in my dreams. I keep dreaming about this ex-boyfriend of mine. Like last night I was back together with him, living in some house, and my cousin kept on sending her children over to our house to babysit them because she trusted us with these kids. And for me, it's like, aren't you just in a pie in the sky fantasy? You lost the best woman you ever had because you listened to guys who couldn't even love Imedizabo. They cheated on their girlfriends in front of me. They spoke smack about them. They couldn't love them. You saw, you witnessed. Goodness, he used to tell me all these stories about all the dalliances of his boys. How does that he used to explain to me just what bad boys his boys were to his women, to their women. And then he went on right ahead and became just like them. How in the world do you fashion your life against people who you had no respect for their ways with women? He did not respect his friends' ways with women, and yet he listened to his friends' advice about his woman. And then he lost her. And now Kisono Kayena, because he's the only one that did not get to marry the woman. He's the only one that did not get to have his bread buttered on both sides, disrespect the crap out of his female and still marry her, even though she's frustrated with him. He's the only one that is not with the woman that he loves. He's the only one that is living in a severity of regret and a deep sorrow of loss. Only one. The rest of them, abafazi ebaba bihlizile, are married to them. Women they decimated, accepted their proposals. He is the only one that did not get that because the woman decided to go and get saved. So next time you decide, Ugmosha, that which is not broken. Next time you try to fix that which is not broken. Next time you try to correct a status quo that had no errors in it. Zinjandin. Next time you do any such random activity of that nature, just remember that black people but willing a sabotage. Okay? And so there's no avoiding the fact that people will always try to come in between your relationship. People will always be trying to come in between your job, your prospects, your family, your kids. They will always be trying to sow something. But it is the one that makes a decision to capitulate to wicked influence with their consciences intact. So you can tell that something is going awry. You can tell or something into Letileng, but you still do it anyway. My ex-boyfriend knew he was messing up with me. Remember I told you guys that when his brother passed away, he did not grieve with me? Somewhere along the way, after a couple of months of his brother passing away, he thanked me for being there for him after his brother died. And I was like, you feel like I've been there for you? I don't feel like I've been there for you because you never let me. You never let me be there for you. You broke away from me and chose Abangan Bako to mourn with. So I believe he thanked me because he realized that he inappropriately treated me during the whole thing, and I could not raise it or complain because I would have sounded insensitive, seeing as he was the one that was bereaved. So this is a man whose conscience was operating the entire time. He knew he was messing up with a good woman, a good thing. He had found something amazing. He had so many friends, some of them I didn't even know until much later. There were a lot. And they managed to influence him. They managed to take him away from me. They managed to make him act a fool. His conscience was working so swimmingly. It was oiled like so beautifully that he even quit drinking alcohol just so he could show me that I don't want to lose you. Because at some point he was entering into these drunken stupors that would cause him so much disrespect. And I believe it was one of these drunken stupors that also made him sleep with some woman one night without a condom and put my life in danger. The one that he confessed, it was because of how drunk he was. And due to like what it is that alcohol made him do, he stopped drinking. There was a time when he was a designated driver. I was still drinking and he had stopped altogether. He was sober completely for us. That's how much his conscience was working, this guy. It was working like a well-oiled machine. I later on also quit drinking, and so the two of us became a non-smoking, non-drinking couple, and it was lovely that way. But he quit first for us. A woman that had that kind of influence on a man, his boys made him lose her. After becoming sober, he was now crazy, alle sober. This time, and he kept on messing up and messing up and messing up. And when you lose somebody like that, when you lose somebody that has that kind of positive influence on you, dude, like proper, you are without excuse. He knew what was right and chose not to do it. He was scared to lose me enough to basically shapen up in ways that were quite miraculous in the relationship. Yet, in the end, he let everything go. In the end, he let everything go. I keep saying this, if my ex-boyfriend never let me go, I would likely have ended up married to him. Because the only thing that caused us to break up permanently is the fact that I walked and he was like, Tekamba. I left and he was like, oh, for the first time ever. Like all along, he would always come back after a certain 1 or 2, 3 weeks would progress. Then he'd be back on some, come on, let's talk, it's us. I left and he spat on the track en route to me getting out, saying, don't even come back because that spit is made of hydrochloric acid. So if you step on it, your feet are going to burn off. That's why we broke up. We broke up because I left him, but he let me leave. I keep saying over and over again that if that guy did not let me leave, I would have been his wife today. He let me leave. And because at the time I was investigating the things of God, the amount of pain that I was feeling, the sorrow, the heartbreak of that behavior of his, like he was starting some business, a business, and he had made me a silent partner on it. And after we broke up, for the first time, I had been a silent partner in that thing for years. Even though the business had yet to like skyrocket and get off the ground or whatever, but I had been this dude had already put the tools in place to basically confirm that we're getting married one day. That's the thing about sad. It's sad, right? Recreational dating. And whatever. Yeah. That whole thing, even when we broke up, every time in the past, whenever we broke up, that stayed a thing. I still was maintained as a silent partner or whatever in his business. However, the last time that I walked away, by the way, because he tried to reconcile with me. I was willing to listen to him, and he stood me up. He didn't come to the date. Thankfully I didn't go to the mall. I was waiting for him to call me, tell me I'm at the Clearwater, because I lived in Honeydew, in close proximity to Clearwater, so I was going to drive there really quickly as soon as he had gotten there. He never came. His mom is the one that called me. I already spoke about that briefly on some, my son, I'm sorry. I was like, as in, please. I'm not dating the mother, I'm dating the dude. And the dude is the one that's out here disappointing the living daylights out of me. So I know, right, it's okay. Crap, this is nonsense, but it's okay. Yeah, I would have gotten back together with him if he had just come to that date. And we would have spoken and seen if we can't carry on doing this thing, but he stood me up. And after he stood me up, I got mad, I got angry, I dumped him. Well, again, it's not like we were already broken up, but we were supposed to reconcile. We were supposed to talk. We didn't talk because he didn't come to the date. He chose to just act a fool. And after I was like, yes, then don't even bother to call me again. Don't even try to reconcile again, because I was mad, I was angry, I was sad, I was disappointed. He then started sending me documentation telling me, look, I need to remove you as a silent partner since we're broken up. And that really hurt, because every single breakup that we've had, ever since this thing became a thing, you've never ever tried to remove me off your business, because it was planned that we were going to get married one day. Now you're removing me, evidencing that you are content with me leaving. And it hurt so bad. I could not deal, I couldn't handle, and he was also very rude in how he handled the whole matter, that I finally cried out to God, because nothing was working, nothing was sufficing, nothing was giving. Everything was just so painful that I cried to God. And that was the only, I got born again because of that. That whole thing that my ex did caused me to get saved. I got born again. That morning, I was in the shower, I was crying, I didn't know what to do with myself. I cried out to God, and this peace fell on me. That was the day that I believe I received the Holy Spirit. That's the day I believe I got circumcised. That's the day that I believe spiritually circumcised, I got saved. And I was working on Sunshine, bubbly the whole day in the office. I was cool. And my ex-boyfriend from that date, tick tock, he allowed a whole year, a whole year to pass before he tried to come back. By then, I was a year saved. I was a year redeemed. I was a year in Christ. I was a year sanctified. And he was still in the world. He was an unbeliever. And all the witchcraft that he put on me also broke off. All the witchcraft of other people from the past, everything, that relationship, I got cured, I got delivered. If he did not give me time, because shortly after getting saved, I was still kind of worldly. I was still clubbing, even though I ended up leaving the club because I got, I felt grieved by the Holy Spirit for being in there. I was still talking with guys in the world, trying to see if maybe he'll like me. I still did not know what makes for a godly person. I was essentially regenerated but not sanctified. So if my ex had called me at any given time in that year, I very potentially might have been like, what are you doing though? Anyway, fine, it's cool, we'll talk. I would I will say this again, that guy let me go. I walked out and he let me. And the Lord gave me a year to heal. And by the time I got to that year mark, I wanted nothing to do with him. I was not interested. If anything, before the year ended, I was healing so well that before the year ended, I'm the one that organized a meeting for us to get proper closure, seeing as our breakup was so kind of messy, it was ugly. And it was at that date that I gave him gospel paraphernalia. I gave him books like literature and what have you. And we spoke about God briefly, and we had a very cordial breakup. Not breakup, but closure. Yeah, because we'd already been broken up about 6 months at that stage. So at that date, he was surprised that I even called him on it. And he was still acting standoffish on some, I don't want you back. Dude, I'm not calling you to get back together. I'm calling you to get closure because we broke up, humpy. And then 6 months later, that's when he's like, hi, Karabo, how are you? And I'm like, I'm good, but no thanks. Tried to get back. He wanted me back high and low, but I did not. So he had a year that he spent dilly-dallying around in these streets. And he discovered that it's a jungle out there, wanted to come back, and he's been trying to come back ever since. So we broke up 12 years ago. He's been trying to get back together with me for 11. Like, y'all don't understand. I would have managed to stop that guy's wedding if at all I came through at any given time before it. So imagine, when you're the woman married to a man like that, why are you priding yourself in getting the ring? If a woman could have successfully broken up your marriage, your wedding, at any given time before it. Look, sabotage. It gets done to the best of us. Black people do not like each other's success. And as a black person, you gotta be individually motivated to keep stuff going for yourself. Otherwise, people will just take it from you. People will just steal from you. The devil steals, kills, and he destroys. But Christ has come to give life and life abundantly. People will just steal anything they want if you allow them to. My ex allowed everybody to steal me from him, coupled with the fact that in and of himself he became rude, he became mean, he became a perpetrator as well as a victim, and I'm just a victim. And so because I'm just a victim, I get concession from God, whereas he doesn't. I keep getting dreams where he feels as if though because I'm his hostage, I guess he's the only one that can come and rescue me now. Lomundlona is naive. He is stranded in the past in a way that I'm Also kind of stranded in the past, but with a prospect of getting out. Only thing that's kept me stranded back there is the fact that God has not yet given me my breakthrough. I have not yet gotten my breakthrough. I have not yet come out of this darkness. And so for those reasons, I feel ngati mina get trapped, having to keep on telling a story about a guy what 12 years ago. But the same guy's trying to come back because now you're trapped in 12 years ago. In a way where he wants to go back, I want to move forward. And he just won't let me, but he doesn't have to let me. He does not have to let me. The Lord has given him a strong delusion to make him believe that I'm under his spells. But who in the world wants to be the wife of a man so caught up on an ex to a point of holding her hostage in a basement so she doesn't marry anybody else? My ex-boyfriend is naive and he's leading himself into insanity. He's always just been like this, and it appears nothing has changed. Now he's reached a height of psychosis that frankly his life is in danger if he doesn't repent. If he doesn't repent, impilo yakhe is in danger. From what I saw, he doesn't even make it past the rapture. Uhlanisitswe ke dibe tsa batho that made him commit dibe. He got made mad or insane by people's sins that made him sin egregiously against God. I chose Christ, he chose the darkness. I chose to honor our relationship, he chose to decimate it based on influence around both of us. We both were being targeted for separation. We both were being ripped apart by other black people that don't like to see black people happy. We both went through the same rubbish, but I chose the path of rightness. I chose the path of light. I chose to stand by my guy despite rubbish in these streets, from friends, from family, from abantu nje abahlala ba sabotage. But he chose to allow himself to get influenced by saboteurs. You don't get, therefore, to gain concession from God for being a victim if you've also made yourself a perp. Allow yourselves to be cleansed, guys, by God, that you may actually be eligible for recompense. The only way that you stand to be eligible for recompense, and the only way that your enemies stand to endure comeuppance, is if you keep yourself a victim only and never a perpetrator. Otherwise, there is no recompense coming. If because you were bewitched, you become a witch. If because you were cheated on, you become a cheat. If because you were stolen from, you become a thief. If because you were beaten, you become violent. If you choose to accost other people because you were accosted. In other words, if your whole standing along in your mind that says hurt people. If you tell yourself that you're going to hurt people because you were hurt, you are taking away from yourself recompense. You are taking away from yourself justice. That which God does when he recalibrates scales, him fixing the narrative, the status quo. The Lord is about to recompense me. He is about to show me the reward of my enemies. My ex-boyfriend won't get to enjoy the reward of our enemies because he's going to fall in the whole batch of punished souls when the Lord finally gives me recompense or awards me retribution against those who cursed my heart, broke it through a man that I was too in love with to leave, and so he got to spend another 4 years just breaking it. I'm finally going to get my breakthrough in that regard. All the pain I have felt since I started dating him just 6 months in is going to get fixed eventually because I waited on God for vengeance. Vengeance is of the Lord. Leave room for God's wrath. Do you understand what I'm saying? You need to wait for God to fix the status quo. You can't just take matters into your own hands. My ex took matters into his own hands, and unfortunately for him, he allowed himself to be influenced to hurt a woman that he knew he couldn't afford to lose. His conscience was in operation, and now today he is the baddest perpetrator in the game where I'm concerned. So even though a whole bunch of his friends sabotaged him, even though I can take him to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of his friends that I saw doing witchcraft, doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, he decided to walk with them and become a beast like them, enter into a man cave, even though he was a much better man than them at some point. He was far better than all of them combined at some point. He excelled as a man above all of them in ways that are appreciated by God, even though mankind does not care for them. He had virtue, he had character, and he allowed himself to lose even that. He allowed himself to lose the best thing that made him unique, and somebody found it special. And because I found it special and other women were giving him grief because of not having some things, he imagined that I was not that special because if I like him so much when nobody else likes him, I must be nothing. Except he didn't realize that I spotted what was worthwhile to spot, and I ran with it. He imagined that I was settling, or rather that I must be a substandard woman because I took in my stride that which other women would not take in him. Like I was ride or die, and he still imagined me substandard to a woman that did not want him before. He had no respect for virtue. He had no respect for character, and that caused him to lose the best woman he's ever had. Like my ex-boyfriend, at some point, he didn't even think I was beautiful. He didn't trust my beauty because one of his boys kept telling him that he deserves a yellow bone. The woman he married is just as dark as me, if not darker. He's always had a thing for dark girls, but this friend managed to convince me because mina ngimnyama. Oh goodness, guys, like there's just so much going on, and this is not something I dreamt about, by the way. It happened. The guy kept on vocalizing in the boyfriend yam. He told me to my face, my boy is too much of a pretty boy for you. He needs a yellow bone. He said that to me. So it's such things as these that made my ex think I'm not beautiful, and now he watches my content, unfortunately for him, and sees my beauty and is like, this woman was in my life all this time. Why didn't I see all that? Were we born? You did. He did see it. He did see all that glory. He did see all that beauty. He absolutely did see it. But then somewhere along the way, it faded from his eyesight. He saw it because when we met, I was among like 7 or 8 other women, other girls at like JB's Corner. No, News Cafe, Yago Santon. I was there with 7 or 8 other women that he could have chosen from, and he chose me. He thought I was the prettiest there. So he knew that I was beautiful. Somewhere along the way, however, he forgot that I was because somebody underestimated my pretty face. He allowed himself, that guy is that basic. Bet he goes through photos if he still has them at all now, where I am in them. And he's like, but she was so beautiful. Why this thing? Why didn't I see it? You make yourselves blind. Blind. Is that basic? So what is the moral of this whole story? You don't get to be a perp and a victim at the same time. You can only be one. And so the day you start to do perpetrative activity against people, don't expect justice, not from God anyway. You're gonna have to take matters into your own hands. And when you take matters into your own hands, that's when you just decimate this ecosystem. That's when you do not get to have your bread buttered on both sides. You do not get to have your cake and eat it too. You do not get to just do whatever under heaven you want to do and imagine that uzoba right. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So next time you want to take matters into your own hands, think twice, because that means that you are forfeiting your capacity to be delivered by God. You are forfeiting it. When you take matters into your own hands, when you hurt your ex because he hurt you, when you bewitch a friend because she bewitched you, when you curse a person because they cursed you, you are forfeiting your justice. So my ex can never get justice against his friends. He can never get justice against certain of his family members, against his dad. He can never get justice against people who cost him the love of his life. But I stand to get justice against him. I stand to get justice against his friends. I stand to get justice against his dad. I stand to get justice against my own family. I stand to get justice against my own former friends. I stand to get justice against all of my perps, because I have maintained my status as a victim the whole time. So the Lord will take up my cause. So think twice. If at all you believe in Jesus, think twice about fixing this world for yourself. Think twice. I'm signing out in Christ's name, Kran K. Peace.